Hey everyone, my name's T. Krulos.
And I'm Heidi Erickson.
All right, here we are. We're back from our adventure at
Whew,
UFO days.
whew.
Uh, there was a lot going on there. I don't even really know where to start. There's just so
Yeah.
much to take in. It was really kind of
Uh,
a sensory overload.
I'd like to say first and foremost that just exceeded all of our expectations. It was so much better than you even like. I really thought it was just going to be a couple of flying saucer shaped like cheeseburgers and maybe a drink special and like a couple of people wearing antenna. And it was that, but also so much more. I learned so much
Oh yeah, I
about
never,
myself.
I never even got to try the drink special. It was called Alien Juice.
It was
It was,
horrible.
it was.
Like I think there might have been okay, so on the bar there's a jar full of what I'm assuming is formaldehyde and an alien, I guess they said. They said it was an alien. It looked to me a lot like someone had made something out of like candle wax and then put it in the jar. I'm not sure if they meant it as a joke or what. Alien juice kind of tastes like Midori but with some of the stuff from inside of that jar inside of it,
That's
and
the
you drink
secret
it.
recipe.
Yeah.
Alien formaldehyde.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine after a couple of those, though, you'd start seeing all kinds of little green guys every place. Yeah, it was
It was
special.
great because word got out that T's Weird Week podcast was there,
Ah, yeah, they were
and
about
then
it.
people started, cornering us outside and,
Yeah.
sharing their stories, like,
Yeah. Like,
coming right up and talking into the Andrew's microphone, pretty much.
yeah, like we thought that people were going to be kind of weirded out that we were there, but it seemed like every third person was like, "Hey, are you recording? Let me tell you, I got abducted by aliens 9 times. Let me explain
Hmm.
time
Hmm.
travel to you. I know all about it." And like that is seriously some shit that happened more than once while we were there. It was a lot. It was cool, but like, I mean, what did you expect up in that? I don't even know where to start diving in with that. Okay. I think that the first thing that I noticed when I walked in was the T-shirts that they had there, which were neon green, and I
All
was
neon green merch, all of it was.
all neon green merch, and right away I was like, "Bangarang, that shit's awesome!" And then they were selling beer right there too, so we had a couple of those. Um, and then there wasn't a whole like there was people there when we first got there, but there wasn't a whole bunch of people, but there were already people there in tinfoil hats. There were many tinfoil hats. They abounded. That there was a competition for the best tinfoil hat that didn't really get heated until that whole family showed up dressed in aluminum foil, and the one guy had the giant green alien balls as part of his
Oh, yeah.
costume. And I was like, that guy's gonna win. Like it's done. You guys should just go home. That was pretty cool. There was
So
the
so
woman.
wait, so wait. What I is saying is this guy, he made like a kilt out of tinfoil,
Uh-huh.
and the rest, he has some other tinfoil accessories, but then underneath his tinfoil kilt he had these big green like styrofoam balls, and he kept
Awesome.
like flashing people his alien
Uh
balls.
he was so
So
committed. I don't think he broke character the entire time. And see, that's what like I think that's what I expected was that there was going to be just because it's on a lake. Benson's Hideaway, which is too precious, by the way, is right on Long Lake in the Kettle Moraines. It's totally beautiful, even if you're
mhm,
not going to go for alien purposes. Like the drive there was just gorgeous.
yeah.
Um, but I expected that there was going to be Mr. Benson talking about aliens, maybe, and then just a bunch of town folk who saw this as an opportunity to get dressed up and act silly and drink, a couple of Miller High Lifes and then go out in the lake and, whatever. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be just like a fucking fish fry, but with
Right.
aliens. And there was that. That definitely happened. I feel like there was a healthy mix of we're here to get plastered and like get dressed up in tinfoil, and also I am from the planet Venus and I'm here to tell you all about this scenario. Like
Yeah.
it was just those two kinds of folks. That's it. And us.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said when I was recording the intro, it's like a distinctly Wisconsin type of UFO event.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't think of anything really comparable. Other than, remember, there was this Let's Raid Area 51 event that was supposed to happen, and that turned into a sort of similar festival out there in the desert where they just turned it into kind of a funny alien party that happened to be near Area 51.
That was a smart move, whoever brought the keg, because otherwise them kids would have got straight up waxed. Like if they had, I loved all the people who were going to Area 51 for just the sheer bravado that they were heading at it with. Tiger blood, like awesome. But I was like, those people, those poor people, they're just going to get so killed though by the government. The government doesn't care. They're going to fucking mow you guys down on national television. So probably better it turned into a kegger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad for them.
Yeah, there was a couple arrests. There was one arrest for urination, and I believe that they arrested one person who was like trying to sneak by the guards so he could drunkenly James Bond his way into Area 51, I guess. But
to be fair, if that dude had got lit on whatever the alien juice cocktail recipe was at that particular like Lollapalooza, and it had somehow managed to get past the guards, I'd have put a statue of him up. I seriously would have. I love it. Absurdity, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, because there was people at that Area 51 thing too who probably were very serious about like, they've been keeping this information from us. Mm-hmm. Like, we need to know what's out there. I think that's what's hard about like people who believe a lot of things that are like, let's say unconventional. Let's just say unconventional, because the people that we talked to at this UFO festival and even the speakers that they had there, the thing that was so effective, like that's like stuck with me and was so like, arresting, is they were just so goddamned earnest. Like they were so earnest. Mm-hmm. I completely believe that the people that I spoke to believed everything they were telling me. Like they absolutely did. And it, like, you want to be like, dude, I mean, I believe that you believe that you're from the planet Venus. I totally believe that you believe that.
Yeah.
But also, are you from the planet Venus? Like, how many people are from the planet? Everyone there was from Venus. Every single person. I didn't even know people came from Venus. I thought it was all Mars.
Yeah. It was a high population from Venus, which I've never encountered before.
Yeah, the Venusians came to represent for sure. They were up in the town.
In fact, I'm going to hold this up. If you're listening to the podcast and you can't see, I'm holding up a book. It's titled Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. It's written by Raymond Andrew Keller II, or as his friends call him, Cosmic Ray. And Ray we thought that he was the speaker that we saw when we first entered, but it turns out we actually missed his talk, and we were hearing a talk by a different guy who says that he's visited Venus or is from Venus.
The gentleman we heard believed he was from Venus, that he himself was an alien Venusian person. The other guy, and I think both of these gentlemen were military veterans. I know the guy that wrote that book was in the military for sure. He was wearing his veteran's hat and stuff.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a couple interesting things about this book from a technical standpoint. It's 300 pages long. It's very detailed. It has photographs, graphs, charts.
Of what?
I don't know. They relate to Venus somehow. I haven't gotten very far in this book because it's very dense. It's an 8.5 by 11 book, which
a coffee table book.
Yeah. So the reason that's significant, though, is that 8.5 by 11 pages are much more wordy than half-size pages. So this is like almost the equivalent of a 600-page book, And in addition, Venus Rising is the first book in a 5-book series that Raymond Keller II has written about Venus. So he's written 5 big books like this. I don't know if I'm, how far I'm going to get into it, but just like starting to read it, it's coherent, it's interesting.
Okay.
So I'm going to read into it and see what he has to say about his expertise on Venus.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of curious if it's like a really like very scientifically presented thing, or if this person is being very poetic. I mean, that has to have been an affecting experience for this person to have gone back and forth to Venus, which I think he claims to have done several times, not just once, but like over and over and over again as a function of the military, if I'm not mistaken. Like, did he say that it was part of some big military operation and that's how he ended up going back and forth to Venus, or was this just some shit he was doing on his spare time? Was this more like a hobby?
No, I think this was like military program, and also one of these guys, either the guy that we saw talking or Raymond Keller, Cosmic Ray, one of these guys married someone from Venus. Is
Oh,
what I kind of remembered. So they're in
sure.
a marital relationship with a Venusian.
Right. That's beautiful. I wonder what the marriage was. I like the wedding. I wonder what that was like. I feel like Venusian people probably know how to party. I wonder if they did the whole like smashing of glasses and stuff like that, or had somebody jump out of a cake or whatever. I'd go to a Venusian wedding just to see what it was about, just to see what kind of macaroni salad they served on that buffet. Just kind of curious. Let's see what else did the first guy that we spoke to. I wish I had gotten his name because he was such a kindly, like he was this nice older man with a walker. He was like
Yeah,
he had to have been 80. He had to have been 70 or 80 years old. And he said he had been doing that UFO days at Benson's Hideaway for 30 years. He had spoken there, like since
yeah,
they first started doing it. So for 30 years, this elderly gentleman sat in the middle of a room that is more frequently used for bingo and fish fries and
yeah,
speaks while all these people are drunk and chatting. And this old man is talking into this microphone very calmly and a very like grandfatherly tone about how he is from the planet Venus, how there are 150 different sentient species that control our planet and the space around it, like all of this stuff that he was talking about. And he didn't hesitate to say any of it. And part of it, like it he had to have been saying some of it from rote because he's done this for 30 years. But like every time he opened his mouth, he said some new thing. He said he was guarded by invisible insect aliens guard him all the time. He said that he is clones of himself because he goes back and forth to Venus or the spaceship or wherever, because he's from Venus, but he's been to many different places. They bring the clones down, and it's the clone that's like mowing his lawn, walking his dog, paying his taxes while he's off doing Venusian shit. What else did he say? He said a
he was
bunch of things.
he was talking about different extraterrestrial species, and he mentioned uh, and oh, here actually Shane, by the way, is leaving some comments. I'm sure. Sorry, Shane, I'm just catching up now.
Oh, there it is.
He says, "Oh, insect aliens are always awesome." So this guy mentioned some different extraterrestrial races, including the praying mantis aliens, which are
Yeah,
part of UFO lore. They're like giant praying mantises.
yeah.
And he also mentioned reptilians, and someone in the audience was like, "Yeah, some of them are in the government." And I was like, "Uh-oh, we're going to turn into a reptilian thing here now." And
I love it.
he was like, "No, no, I don't know anything about that. I just know about these aliens that are reptiles."
There's no
So,
way that the insect aliens would have anything to do with our government. Insects are way too organized. Our government is chaos. Human government is chaos. I can see the reptiles getting in on it because you kind of have to be a little bit cold-blooded in order to be successful at that
yeah,
fuckery, but not the insects. No fucking way, man. Those guys they're on Venus with
right,
the other
right.
guys doing Venus shit. I still want to, okay.
Oh,
So
and
one of the
he the other thing he said was he said, "I don't know much about these other aliens, but if you have questions about the 4 foot tall grays, the gray
the
aliens,
classic aliens.
then he said, then you can approach me after this talk." And and we'll talk shop. But I don't know much about these other alien types. I've just seen them around, pretty much,
I
is
know.
what
I
he said.
love that. I love that. It's like, yeah, I know that guy, but I don't like know him. But like, I know of him or whatever. I don't hear. Okay, so like all the different, like I knew of a couple of different kinds of aliens that was part of the lore, but I was not aware of the insect aliens. I do think that's super rad. If you're gonna have an alien, I prefer they don't look like humans. They shouldn't. That's boring. Be an insect. I want some aardvark aliens. I had not heard of the cat-faced aliens, and
Oh,
I
what?
right. And I learned about the cat aliens from the Australian government UFO report that came out 6 years ago. So, first of all, what? Maybe there are 150 different like right we're going with this now. There's 150 different species or like civilizations, types of aliens. But like America doesn't get cat-based aliens. We get lizards and insects and little grays. But what? Who? How the fuck? How does Australia rate? They get the cat aliens? That's bogus, dude. I'm surprised the furries are not just so mad about this. If I was a furry, I'd move to Australia immediately. So if I get abducted by aliens, at least it's going to be the furry cat-faced aliens for sure.
I
Nobody,
bet
nobody.
I bet Australia has some pretty sweet kangaroo-faced aliens too. That would be awesome.
Ooh, have you ever like been up close to a kangaroo?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, they're fucking
Yeah.
scary. They're humongous. I didn't realize they're like 6 feet tall. They'll punch your lights out.
I went
Um,
when I was young. I went to Australia, and I took a trip to Kangaroo Island,
what?
which is which is just south of
Bullshit.
us. No, I'm
I'm
serious.
so I'm just gonna I'm just saying that I'm gonna need to see pictures of you two with
I
on
do. I
Kangaroo,
have pictures of
Kangaroo
me
Island.
on Kangaroo Island. Yes.
Conspiracy. Um, conspiracy. That's amazing. Okay, so here's a fun factoid, personal factoid that I learned while we were at UFO days. Because of course I told my mother. I told my mother about this, bless her. Now my
Yeah.
mother is very much about the alien phenomena. In fact, that's the reason that I became interested in it because when I was a kid, was right when that book Communion came out. You remember that shit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that was everywhere. If you guys are not familiar, like back in the 80s, late 80s, I guess it must have been. Back in
Either
the
late '70s or early '80s. It was written by Whitley Strieber.
sure. So in the days of like Aquanet bangs and jelly bracelets or whatever, this book called Communion came out, and it was all about this guy's abduction experience. Um, but it started off the like cultural phenomena of people coming forth and saying like I'm an abductee and this idea of missing time and all this other stuff. And
Mhm.
my mom was really convinced that had happened to her, and that it possibly had happened to all the rest of it of us of in our family. And I found out many years down the way that she believed this because she grew up in the Kettle Moraines. And when she grew up in the Kettle Moraines as a child, she had some super weird experiences, along with several other members of her family who were children at the time. And that she believed she had an alien experience there, but that the aliens that she saw weren't the little gray ones. They were the big, tall ones with long, dark hair. This is
Mm.
very interesting because at that time, like the abductee like experience was just becoming culturally like a thing that you could access culturally, and there was no internet. That wasn't a thing. If you wanted to learn about aliens, you had to go down to the goddamn bus station with a 40 a malt liquor and find the weirdest looking dude there and like get him drunk and have him tell you all about it over a grilled cheese sandwich. Like you couldn't just look it up. So the idea of this particular species of or whatever of aliens, the big tall ones with long dark hair that look almost like cavemen or something, that wasn't a thing that you could just reference. That wasn't a thing that she had any access to. So it's really fascinating to me that she told me that like when I was like 16 or something like that, before she could possibly have been exposed to it. But she always said that the Kettle Moraine was a super weird area, and that there were things under the ground there, and the people who lived in the Kettle Moraines believed that there were things under the ground, like doorways to other universes and dimensions and places where these things came out of, which made me think about the UFO festival because the folks in Dundee say that Dundee Mountain is the same. they say there's something under the mountain, which is such a creepy set of words, by the way.
Yeah.
What is under the mountain?
If you're not familiar with Wisconsin geography, by the way, the Kettle Moraine is a big area in the middle of the state here. It's got a lot of state parks and forest, and a lot of what do you call it? Terrain from the Ice Age is in that area too.
Yeah.
So, and Dundee is, I don't know if it's in the Kettle Moraine, but it's very close to that area.
No, I think it is in the Kettle Moraine.
It is?
I think it, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's in there proper. Because the Kettle Moraine is huge. It stretches across the whole middle of the state. It's this huge, like and I guess according to like certain conspiracy theorists, that's part of the reason is that, okay, if you believe that there used to be other civilizations that existed in the world before now, if you believe this is like the fourth age of man, and there have been 3 other periods of time where there have been advanced civilizations, and there have been civilizations that have nuclear warred themselves to death and then disappeared to history. Like, that's a theory that people have. Is that because most of Wisconsin is defined entirely by the Ice Age and the passage of time and these glaciers that dug these great big ruts down into the ground, like why Lake Michigan is one of the deepest bodies of water in the world, because it's just a big trench dug by this glacier, that there's places in Wisconsin because of that where you can access these other civilizations that didn't actually expire. They just went underground. That's my mom's theory. She told me all about it. I was like, I had no idea. That's illuminating, but apparently that is a thing that people believe.
Well, we should get your mom a gig as a speaker at UFO Days next year.
She volunteered.
All right on. Yeah, it was. What else happened? We drank some moonshine.
Yeah, we did. Philip, that dude was fucking awesome. Okay, so apparently UFO Days was started not just by Mr. Benson, Bill Benson, Bob Benson,
Bill, I think
Bill Benson.
Yeah,
it was actually originally started by this other gentleman and Bill Benson, which I think is legit because all the signage and stuff says that Mr. Benson is the co-founder of UFO Days. So we were hanging out, and this dude with a bunch of balloons tied to the back of his, I thought he was riding a rascal, and I thought it was because he had some mobility issues, except I saw him spring up out of that rascal a half a dozen times and like cut a rug. So I think he just couldn't be fucked to walk. He was like, and it makes sense because he was walking around with these giant mason jars full of homemade moonshine. He explained to us every step of the process. His moonshine is special because it's not just made from grains, it's made from crab apples. And also like one of those big thermoses you get from the gas station that you get a Slurpee in, filled with Everclear and RC Cola. And he was drinking both of them. And like, I don't know how because I took like, he was like, here, you should try it. And I was like, sure, this might as well happen. And like, I put like, I wasn't going to drink it. Like I was not going to drink it. I just brought it up to my lips and just let it touch my lips and instantly like numb, like nothing. Like I was like, I wish they had this at the dentist because that was so fast. And oh my God, my eyes were burning. And fucking Philip was just walking around drinking that stuff all like he was not there to fuck around. He drank the whole time and was still on his feet when we left. I couldn't believe it. But Philip told us all about how he had learned to drive spaceships. It was his dad. Yeah. His dad and Mr. Benson who found it. He learned to drive spaceships. He after some point, Philip and I went off to go get another beer, and T and Andrew went off to other business. And
you went off, and we were recovering from just taking a taste of that moonshine,
right?
Because it was fucking intense.
It was super intense. I'm pretty sure it peeled the enamel off of my teeth in the front, which is bullshit because that was expensive enamel. But as we were walking over to get a beer, he explained to me about time travel and about gravitational forces and about how spaceships ran on a gravitational drive And you know what's weird? If I hadn't just seen that guy drink like 5 ounces of 98.5% liquor, what do you say? Shane says, just to see this, I wish you would have too, Shane. It was a blast. We had an absolute riot. I wish we could have stayed the night because there were definitely people camping there, and those people.
There was people probably camping face down, right in the backyard there,
They
after
had to have
drinking
been.
Phil's moonshine.
Christ, but yeah, but there was like 8, 9 pontoon boats too out on the lake that were out there in the event that something rose up out of the lake, and because it has in the past. Like, we laugh. A lot of weird shit happened at UFO Festival. A lot of weird folks were at UFO Festival, but also like there's video footage of stuff coming up out of the lake, late at night after one of these festivals. Like I saw it, like there's that's real life. And some of the people that we talked to, like, were some of them exceptionally drunk? Yes. That doesn't make them wrong. It just makes them drunk.
Yeah.
And they had some things to say about it. But Philip knows how to travel through time is the point. I'm not sure how much of that is the moonshine and how much of that is all the time he spent in the spaceship or whatever. But he does know how to travel through time. I can't really explain the math to you right now, but it seemed legit at the time.
I have this funny vision of Phil, and he has sort of a like rascal captain's chair in a UFO, and he's just like cruising over Long Lake, like drinking moonshine and
Oh my God.
like dive bombing over people's houses and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because on the way up there, we were talking about Mr. Benson's best friend, who is a guy named UFO Bob.
Yeah.
And UFO Bob is a radio host, right? And his big thing is that he is in telepathic communication with this alien who's from Andromeda, I think, who only comes to Earth to watch Packer games. Now, see, that sounds like bullshit. But after talking to these people, I'm like, I wonder if UFO Bob, like, is that the thing that was a bit that he did for his show? Or does UFO Bob believe that he is in telepathic contact with this alien who comes down for Packers games? And if so, why does he believe that? I really wanted to talk to UFO Bob. I really wanted to get the
Yeah,
scoop
me
on that.
too. So I saw him. He was featured in Mark Borchart's short documentary, the Dundee Project, which he did pretty much what we did. He went up there and just interviewed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But so I was looking for him, but this footage of him was shot a few years ago, so he might have looked a little bit different. At one point, I heard someone be like, "Hey, there's Bob. There's Bob." And I was trying to find out who was saying that and what they were looking at, but I couldn't like pick out like where the voice was coming from. I was like, Bob, where is this dude? So I looked around and did not spot him. So UFO Bob is still a mystery to us as far as we didn't encounter him.
No, unless he learned shape-shifting or something from the aliens. I don't know. I'm not really sure about that. I will say that the thing about it is that like a lot of these people were honestly true believers, but in true Wisconsin up north style, though I honestly believe that they thought that they had been abducted by aliens, perhaps repeatedly, they were still taking the piss on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a joke to them. It was, but not because it wasn't true, but because the fact that they had been abducted by aliens was fucking funny to them.
Yeah.
And I love that about up north folk. They're just like, yeah, can you believe that shit? Like,
yeah, we talked to this guy and his uncle, and this guy's uncle, by the way, is in a picture that I think that you took, and this was definitely the best picture that was snapped that day. It's of this dude, and he's wearing a tinfoil hat and these like extraterrestrial eyeball sunglasses.
So good.
And he's wearing a t-shirt with a UFO beaming someone up, and it says, "Get in, loser." And his nephew is showing us and talking to us about a video that he took of a UFO that he says they saw. But his uncle was still kind of teasing him, even though he told him to tell the story.
Right.
He was like, look out, next time they're going to anally probe you.
Right.
And this guy was like, don't say that.
Right. But like this guy, okay, so this crazy guy, like a crazy looking guy, because he did. I thought he was going to start a fight with us in that photograph where it looks like he's coming to beat our ass. For a second, we were like, is that guy trying to fight us? Because we didn't know. But he came over to us. And this kid came over and told this story, and we were listening to it. The guy was egging him on. We didn't know for sure how much of this was just, the Schlitz talking. And then this kid says, do you want to see the video? And we were
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah, we want to see the video. Like, bust it out. Why are we having this conversation? And he sure did. I mean, like, the video to me, I don't know that I felt like it was super convincing, but like trying to take a phone video of a light in the sky, a distant light in the sky, is never going to be
Yeah. And
super
it was
sharp.
hard for us to see it because it was very bright outside. So we're
Yeah.
all like trying to shade over his phone so we could see it. And it was kind of hard to see just because of the circumstance, I think.
Yeah. But
But
again, he believed it. He totally
yeah.
believed it. He
Yeah.
believed that he had seen something anyway. Like, I don't think he was super ready to say it was aliens, but he was like, it was some kind of shit. I don't know what it was. I have no explanation for it. So there
Hmm.
was that. And there was people there too, like that one gentleman we talked to, Brad. Oh, what a nice guy. I just love Brad. I love Brad
Hmm.
to death. He was my favorite. Where Brad came up actually from Chicago because he had met Mr.
Keller.
Keller.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had met him at another UFO convention on Mount Shasta.
Whoa.
Mount Shasta is a place that has like a ton of like UFO culture. There are tons and tons. But he's been all over the country going to all these places, and so he came up to this thing, and in having a conversation with Brad, and we had the kind of conversation that is usually accompanied by like black light posters and a big bag of Funyuns. Um, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah. I know what
it
you're
was a
saying.
fascinating conversation because like, you know, Brad believed in a lot of things. And a lot of the things that he believed in sounded far-fetched until you went back and he had believed up until that point, and his particular view on the world, which was that that society the way it's set up right now is not very healthy and it's not very good for a lot of people, and that there has to be a better way. And that's basically what it comes down to for a lot of these people, is this idea that somewhere out there there are intelligent beings who have got it figured out, and that this cannot be the only way for intelligent beings to live is the way that we're doing it on planet Earth, because the way we're doing it here is clearly pretty fucked up. And I can't argue with that logic. I'm like, you have a point there. You're not wrong. But like all kinds of mysticism that was involved there and stuff about starseed children and all kinds of, like, he was dropping some fucking knowledge that I just was totally oblivious to. And I remember very much like asking this guy who, okay, got a picture of Brad. He's like a thin dude with a big gray beard, and he's very soft spoken. He talks like this. He doesn't come off as threatening in any way. He just, like, if I was to pick out anybody who was from Venus, it would have been Brad. I'd have been like, I believe that
Yeah.
guy's into fucking Venus for sure. Um, and I said, Brad, what's your mundane life like? And he knew immediately what I was asking him. And he said he used to work at McDonald's, but he doesn't anymore because he didn't like it. And it just occurred to me, like, how many people could be working at a fucking, like, Burger King right now, and the guy in the fry basket and back has been to fucking Venus. You don't know. Talk to your neighbors, you guys. There's all kinds of stuff going on that you just are not aware of. Just take nothing for granted whatsoever. Brad, that sweet guy.
Yeah. Here's something else interesting about this location. So, they say that they've seen UFOs right over Long Lake,
Yeah,
right where Benson's Hideaway is,
yeah,
but also nearby the lake, there's like sort of a marsh area of some cattails and stuff like
yeah,
that. And a couple people told us about how one year they discovered a crop circle
yeah,
type of design that happened right in that sort of marshy area, which is a little
yeah,
unusual. I've always heard of crop circles being in a cornfield or something like that,
sure.
but this one was apparently in like a cattail field.
Well, I guess if you think about it, like, if they put a crop circle in a field, you're gonna notice it. But there's tons and tons, and like marshy areas are not really places where people are gonna notice things like that. There could be a million of them right now. You don't know, out in the marshes.
I also feel like that would be a prime target, though, for a hoax, as
Sure.
far as someone who's like, "Oh yeah, UFO days is happening. Why don't we sneak in there and
Right.
make a crop circle?"
Well, allegedly, the
But who
thing
knows?
that got Bill Benson started on the whole thing to begin with wasn't the incident where the UFOs scared the cows out of the barn. It was when he was a little boy and he found a crop circle in his parents' field or whatever.
Hmm.
So that was the first thing. And also, I guess, remember dude in the tank top? He said that thing that happened to him happened in Random Lake. Is just a stone's throw away from Long Lake. You know, all
Yeah,
them lakes or whatever.
yeah.
Apparently, Random Lake is another one of those places that has just a history of not just like UFO sightings, but all kinds of weird paranormal phenomena, ghosts and random weird humanoid creatures in the fucking woods,
Hmm.
all kinds of business on Random Lake. So, I don't know. Maybe mom's right. Maybe the Kettle Moraines are just, you know,
Oh,
like that.
sure. And not specifically in that area exactly, but I've talked to Bigfoot researchers who have done expeditions in the Kettle Moraine, and that's kind of like the state hotspot.
Is it?
Yeah, Jay Bachochin, who's a great Bigfoot researcher, he has done a documentary and in research into the Kettle Moraine, and he's had some
Shit.
pretty weird Bigfoot experiences in different parts of the Kettle Moraine there.
Let's
So,
go, dude. Let's fucking go. I'm into it.
uh,
I'm six into it.
in addition to Bigfoot, there's been some Dogman sightings in that,
Awesome.
or wolf or man wolf sightings or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got the full Monty there of cryptids and UFOs and ghost stories. So
I love
pretty
it.
weird.
I super love it. That's super good. Yeah, the Calamarains are super weird and I'm into it. But I think like it's one of those things though. Like any place that's pretty isolated and rural and, people form these very insular communities, especially some place like Wisconsin where the winters are really long. Like it's gonna like it's either because people are closer to the land that they live on and they're going to notice more shit because they're less distracted, or because they have more time around the fire in the middle of January to tell stories. Probably a combination of both of those things, I would guess.
Hmm. Here's
Hmm.
a comment from Shane. He says, "Random Lake. I have stories about that place, so we're gonna need to get those from Shane." He
Okay, Shane.
says, "Always treat it with respect." Maybe this is a warning because he knows firsthand that you
That
must
was
do
fucking
that.
ominous. Kettle Moraine parks do have some fun yet weird vibes. They really do, and I like that about them. It feels haunted. Like I wanted to camp out in that cemetery that we found. I thought that would have been so cool. P.S. That caretaker guy, cryptid. Yes, like that guy wasn't real. he,
Mm,
he
mm, mm.
just he just showed up while we were alone on this hill and started like greasing the hinges on the
Yeah,
jet.
yeah. This was a little graveyard that we found. I don't even know where it was. It was somewhere off Highway 57.
Yeah,
Nicely maintained. It was called the St. Paul Lutheran Cemetery, I think, something like
yeah.
that.
It's somebody or other.
So we were there for about 5 minutes, just kind of taking a break, stretching our legs, looking around. And this guy rolls up, he gets out, he goes to a maintenance shed, and he's kind of looking at us, and he's greasing the hinges with like WD 40. But I think that was an excuse. I think that he somehow knew we were there and he was keeping his eye on us to make sure that we weren't vandals. Or
Ah.
he was a ghost, I guess.
I don't think he thought we were vandals. I think he thought we were gonna do a real sexy goth music video. He's like, these fucking goths, get them out of here. I'm sick of them.
Yeah.
It's funny because like this there was nothing next to this cemetery. It's not like it was in a town. It
Yeah.
was next
Yeah.
to a highway that was next
Yeah.
to a field. And that was on the
Yeah.
top of this hill, and that's
On
all
the
that it
hill.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that this guy showed up that quickly, because we were only in that cemetery for like 3 minutes before this dude was just all over it. I'm like, did you come from the ground? Were you in the? Do they keep you in a little box in the woods in case goths show up to do goth stuff in your nice tidy cemetery? I don't know. Whatever. It was pretty. I
Yeah.
liked it. I liked it.
Yeah. Shane is asking us if that was the St. Paul near Mayville. I'm not sure if we're near Mayville.
I don't know.
It was a very, very small cemetery,
Yeah,
and
on
it
top of a
was,
hill.
we just, we noticed it as we are driving by, and then we did a U-turn and,
Yeah,
went back to it.
yeah, we had
So,
fun. Shane,
it,
guess what, buddy? Here's what we're gonna do, I think, because Shane is our most like reliable and dedicated like person.
commenter. Yeah.
Love it. So I think what we should do for Shane is we should make like a Max Headroom head or like Clippy from like Microsoft Word. And like whenever Shane has a comment, like he should just pop up like a little mascot or whatever. Shane, what do you want to be? A paperclip? A puppy? A frog? you just you let us know. An insect alien? I don't know. I think you need your own animation, buddy. That's what this show needs is some cartoon characters. It's a good idea. Shockingly.
Oh, no, we all hate Clippy, he
Oh,
says.
what? Why do we? I didn't know. I had no idea. That was not the only thing that happened this week. It seems like it was the only thing that happened this week was UFO days.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that, by the way, guys, because we got so much material.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
We're
don't
going
think
to
you
carry this
understand.
over. We're going to carry this over to next week. It's our first
Mhm.
2-part episode because there's
Yeah,
just so much stuff to unpack about UFO days.
it was bonkers. It was like BANANAS. But other things did happen this week. That's true that things did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was that story out of Spain. That was my favorite story.
Okay. Do you have this pulled up at all? Otherwise, I'm just going to read this headline or whatever it is,
Go
and then we can. Okay. So listen to this carefully because it's going to take some pretty wild twists in a pretty short amount of time. Okay.
True.
It says, okay, ready? Seriously, here we go. The Spanish porn star Nacho Vidal, who likes to advertise his aromatic candles shaped like male genitalia on Twitter, has been arrested on manslaughter charges following a man's death during a mystic ritual in which he inhaled psychedelic toad venom. Wow. That is a lot.
Gorgeous, just gorgeous. So I did one of our moderators actually hunted this down, and it turned out it was a real story that really happened in real life. So this guy, whose name is Nacho, that's my favorite part of the story, and like it's just lost underneath all this other glam and glitz.
Yeah.
Nacho Vidal, that's not his real name. He's a porn star. That's his porn name. He has been in over 10,000 scenes. He claims to be like a foundational keystone of the pornography market in Europe. He's been doing it for 27 years, and he also owns like a chain of sex toy stores. Which, good idea. You want to diversify your portfolio. If you've been like, performatively fucking for 27 years, at some point you gotta be like, so bored. I'm gonna like start making dick-shaped candles or whatever. So that's who he is, and he's already like he's quite a character type person. But apparently he was holding some sort of mystic ritual in his home in which this man inhaled the fumes from the scales of this toad. And this toad, they called it the Sonoran Desert toad. He had several quaint and charming names, not unlike Mr. Nacho himself. It exerts a toxin from its skin that's supposed to be 5 times more potent than DMT.
Damn.
Right. Because I'm like, isn't DMT already pretty fucking like stone cold? Like I've never done DMT, but what I've heard is that it's already quite a situation. Speaking of aliens talking to the space elves, is that what they call them? space elves, I think,
Yeah.
is what everybody talks to on DMT. Anyway, apparently Mr. Nacho Vidal had taken this drug a number of times. The reason they're charging him with manslaughter is that what they're saying is he had taken this drug a bunch of times. He gave this drug to this person, and he wasn't paying attention to how much of this drug this person was getting. They're essentially like, look, you brought this stuff. You should have known better than to let him just stick his head right in the bag and breathe it all in at once. You should have known. I think it's kind of bullshit. Like, you're talking about a situation in which this person is being involved in an occult ritual at a porn star's house. His name is Nacho Vidal. That guy's already making choices. That guy's already made a lot of choices. Like, it's not like he fucking kidnapped that guy from Piggly Wiggly and was like, "You're gonna fuck like that." Nope, that guy was like, I'm going to Nacho's house and gonna smoke some toads." Like, that was already happening. It feels to me like that was a grown person doing grown people things. But I mean, also, like, it's a toxin, and he died of it because sometimes drugs will kill you. And that's why you need to be careful about making those kinds of choices, because sometimes it's going to go horribly wrong. I don't think he's going to, though. He seems like the kind of person who gets in, like, I don't want to say gets in trouble, but he seems like the kind of person who grabs a headline or so, like, periodically, just to stay
Not just a
fresh.
headline, but like the most ultimate headline ever. A
Thank you,
headline that
Nacho
will break all other headlines in
They
its
also
intensity.
they also have not released the name of the man who died. They said that they were going to charge 2 other people that were also part of the ritual, but then they didn't because they said those people had no control over the ritual and, like, it wasn't their idea. They were just holding the toad for somebody else. I don't know, whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that if that guy goes to jail, it's going to be a weird time for everyone in that jail. For everyone. Not just for Nacho. This will haunt us all forever. Shane, what about a pogo stick? What if you were a little pogo stick?
Oh,
Huh?
here's wait. He says, "I'll be Poochie the dog from The Simpsons."
Cute, but copyright violation. So we're gonna have to come up with something a little bit.
You mentioned that a moderator confirmed this. That's for our Tease Weird Week Facebook group. If you're not a member, you should check that out. You can find that by searching for Tease Weird Week on Facebook, and it'll pop right up. So lots of weird news every day in that
Oh,
group.
absolutely. Absolutely. If there's anything in particular you'd like us to talk about on this here podcast, you can definitely contact us through the Tease Weird Week page.
Yeah.
And we will be happy to fall down any old rabbit hole you open up for us at 2:00 in the morning with our Funyuns until we fucking figure it out. Till we hit headline gold.
Right. You mentioned, so we've been talking about, rare poisonous toads. Here's sort of a related animal what the fuck story. Here's the headline on this one. It's definitely not as good as the Nacho Vidal one, but
I mean, what is though?
what is? But this one says land lobsters from hell are emerging in Big Bend after summer rains. They're referring to the Big Bend area of Texas. And these, I don't think they're lobsters though. They're called vine-garoons. This is a Texas thing. Vine-garoons. We got a vine-garoon problem. It's sort of, this article describes it as a sort of ungodly land lobster that can shoot acid from its tail. And they're described as being, about 3 inches long.
Uh-huh.
And the summer rains have brought the vine-garoons out of their burrows to search for food. They're mostly benign unless you happen to annoy them. Then they can pinch you with their heavy mouth parts and shoot a well-aimed spray of 85% acetic acid, which is about the equivalent of vinegar, from the base of their whip to protect
Same.
themselves.
Super same. Don't fuck with me. I will pinch you with my mouth parts and shoot acid at you from my whip. I swear to God. First of all, oh God, there's so many things that are wrong with that. That's why I don't eat lobsters. Not because of the mouth part thing. It's because they're just bugs. Like this thing at this loop guru or whatever. No, wait, that's werewolves. This thing is it's just it's a scorpion. It's a kind of scorpion. It's a whatever that family of insects that's not spiders but isn't bugs like that are just land lobsters, because lobsters are just sea bugs is what that is, and that's why that's gross. Also, everything's fucked up in Texas. We should add that to the list. Like Wisconsin, Scotland, Florida,
and Texas
and
is
Texas.
Texas is different, always a different kind of weird. It's like this story. It's like an aggressive type of,
Yeah, it's this kind of story, and then it's also like
man grafts 2 more arms to his body so he can shoot more guns at the same time. Right. Like a story like that would be from Texas.
Right. But then, like, I don't know, Texas is super. So I heard that Matthew McConaughey might be running for governor of Texas.
That's all right.
I think that would be super cool because Matthew McConaughey, like most like Hollywood type people, is like a centrist, like progressive type person, sort of, kind of. Yeah. And he's famous and good looking. He could get the place. But it's interesting because right now, the kind of people who are running Texas are the kind of people who just passed a bill that made it illegal to suggest to school children that the KKK was wrong. They passed that bill last week. Holy shit. Damn. So, I mean, are we super surprised by the butt acid lobster things? No. Texas is the Australia of America. There, I said it.
All right. Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong, T. Texas is the Australia of America, right?
I don't disagree.
Okay.
It's a very unusual state. I've been there a few times. I've been to Austin. I really liked Austin. I was to Dallas, which is a weird place, I think. It's weird in my mind because I went there because I went to some conspiracy theory conferences in Dallas. I couldn't pass this up. It was back to back. Okay. It was Flat Earth Conference, and a week later was a JFK assassination conference.
Ooh, love it.
And I was
back like, to the left.
I gotta go. I'm gonna spend 10 days in Dallas.
Where was that one event you told us about that was like Mad Max shit? Where was that?
Oh, yeah, that's Wasteland Weekend. Yeah. It takes place in the Mojave Desert, and Sweet. The nearest city is called California City. And I love the story of California City. They decided that they were going to build the city because they were hoping it would be the next big thing, like LA or San Diego.
Oh, sure, okay.
But it's out in the desert. They got nothing but dust out there, so nobody came. So the city that they projected to be like 3 million people or something ended up being like 10,000 people. Yeah. And you can still drive around and you can see where they've gridded out roads where like a neighborhood would be. Yeah. And there's nothing there.
Sure.
Because it never happened. But so it's outside of California City in the desert, and that happens every September. And it's like a little Mad Max village that rises up around this event.
Oh, that sounds cool. I want to go to that. Yeah. It sounds super cool.
Super awesome. They build their own legit FM radio station out there just for the weekend.
What?
They have like a Thunderdome where people can battle each other with foam weapons.
That's so cool because I have a whole Tina Turner outfit for that. Shit.
There you go.
We gotta grab some toads, get in the hearse, and fucking hit the road to California City. Dang. Yeah. Are they doing it this year? Or did they cancel it for COVID?
No, it is going on this year in September. I would totally go this year, except I think I'm going to be a little swamped with Milwaukee Paranormal Conference.
Yeah.
But in 2022, that definitely is a goal for me to assemble a group of people so we can have our own camp there at Wasteland.
We're gonna
Yeah.
kick ass at Wasteland. I'm gonna wear some furry boots. It's gonna be fucking crazy awesome.
Yeah.
I love this plan, and I'm
Yeah.
glad we're talking about it. You know what's funny is that somebody else said something was happening in 2022 to me yesterday, and I was like, 2022? Why would we wait so long? And I was like, that's in
It's
4
coming up.
months.
Yeah, right. Not
Right.
too far away anymore.
Sure, sure, sure.
This year has flown by in a good way as
Yeah.
far as like able to go outside and do things. So time is passing at a
Yeah.
pretty quick rate.
Yeah, it's great. Having a great time.
Okay. Last story. We'll mention this. We just talked about conspiracy theory stuff. So we should have a segment on the show that's just called like totally nutty conspiracy theory of the week.
Right.
And I love this one. It's so bad. It's so flawed. What happened was conspiracy theorists. There was a lot of wildfires this year, right? Because it's been extremely dry. So in British Columbia, there is a village, and it got badly burnt in one of these wildfires.
Right.
However, conspiracy theorists kind of took a look at some of these pictures of this wildfire, and they have discovered what is really going on, okay? Because they found that a tree was not damaged in this fire, while around it other things were. So they came to the logical conclusion that a giant laser beam zeroed in on this village and burned it.
Sure.
And that's the explanation why, like, you can see some burnt out cars and stuff like that. But some of these trees aren't damaged because it was a direct energy weapon that totally fried this specific area.
Okay, so tell me this, T, because I know you know this. I know you learned this in Texas or California City or the fucking Kangaroo Island or whatever in your many travels of weirdness. I've heard this idea of directed energy weapons before. Giant space lasers controlled by the elite or whatever. Can you tell me what this, like, what do these folks think the point of burning this town with a space laser actually, like, why would the Rothschilds or Bill Gates or what Elvis, why?
I mean, in this case, I've heard this applied like on 9/11, the Twin Towers didn't actually get hit by planes. They were destroyed by a direct energy laser beam. Okay, you can see why the motivation there would be to, steal money that was hidden in the Twin Towers, create a war, all that stuff. But in this case, it's very puzzling because it's like, why would you use that type of technology to destroy a pretty small village in British Columbia?
Right.
Like there's nothing famous there. There's nothing politically tied there. So I'm guessing that their theory is that it's just evil for evil's sake,
Sure.
But it doesn't even make sense if you had this technology and you really wanted to burn this village. Why would you not just pay some low rent arsonist to go in there with a can of gas and start a fire? It's not that hard.
So I did a little research on this dude who posted this video, which is where this article came from. And he is shockingly a great big anti-mask, anti-vaccination conspiracy type theorist person. He said it had something to do with a doctor in this little town who was anti-vax. And so, see, because the wildfire was actually started by a train, but the CNN Railroad is in part owned by Bill Gates. And so Bill Gates had the train start the fire. This doctor, or alternatively, the New World Order cabal with the directed energy weapon, which is called a DEW or a DO, which I
Do
think is
do the
so
do.
cool and so sweet. So out of curiosity, I like went a little bit further, and the thing that really caught my these people were super anti-quarantine. These were people who felt like they were being forced into quarantine because there's a new world order coming in which the elites, whomever that might be, when they're done eating adrenochromes and burning giant owls, will force people to stay in their homes for nefarious, so that they're training the populace to be like submissive, complacent, like whatever. And that the reason that they were doing this with this pandemic, with COVID, was in order to be training the population to prepare us for the climate change quarantines, which is the next thing that they were going to try and use to control people, was the illusion of disaster caused by climate
Okay.
change, which is so funny to me because the reason that the wildfires burnt this particular town at this particular time, because it's due to climate change. There's been
Yeah.
a huge drought in that area for a long period of time. The temperatures have been very high. Odds are, in a regular year, if we weren't being so impacted by climate change, that town would not have burnt down. It burnt down because of climate change. So I'm reading this, and as so often happens with these conspiracy theories, I'm reading this and I'm like, you are so close to the point. I wish you could take this energy that you got going on for your directed energy space weapons and actually be like, you know what's fucked up? Actual climate change that
Right.
actually causes things to actually burn. Like that town burnt down when it didn't have to. There doesn't need to be a space laser involved for you to be pissed off about it. Like there's an actual real thing that is happening that you could probably do something about, but it's got to be about space lasers. It's got to be about
Right.
space lasers.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. Look out for giant space lasers or climate change.
Yeah, whatever's the most accessible to your worldview, I guess. Fuck.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up and we're going to be back next week. We're going to have some more about UFO days and UFO stuff in the second part of this experience. But until then, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.